see. They went to Parc De Princes. It was PSG 2. It was Liverpool nil. It was dark, dastardly, and devastating, as we predicted. And here to pick the bones out of it, we have Jez
Evening.
and Mr. Sandwich.
Good evening.
Mr. Sandwich, for someone that's got engaged recently, you have a kind of like a melancholy vibe going on. What's happened tonight?
Liverpool are just ruining my vibe. Like, just even when I expect it, it's still you still have to sit through it, and it's yeah.
Well, can we start with some positives then?
It was really sunny today. It was good weather today.
This is the first time I'd gone outside today without my coat or even
Exactly. Yeah.
a blazer or jumper or anything,
There you
and
go.
I was kind of sweltering. Also, World War III hasn't started yet.
There you go. That's been postponed. What, 2 weeks? So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, so hopefully that happens after Slot leaves, and we have the
Maybe
return
that
of
null and
Jez.
void. Getting null and void. That would be now. That would make me happy. There you go.
Yeah, we need to null and void the president. But apart from that, let's talk about the football tonight. Jez, you're smiling, you're beaming. You seem to be in relatively happy, joyous mood. Is that just a front? Are you just trying to contain your pain? Talk to us, Jez. We're here for you.
It's tension, you know. My face is set and I can't change it. I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? Oh man, yeah. I don't think there's many of us that would have expected a different outcome. We still have that little bit of hope in our hearts. Yeah.
Did you come into this game with hope in your heart? Because we didn't get your preview because you weren't on the last pod.
I kind of, as it has been for most of this season, I feel bad to say, I feel it's bad that we say most of this season, but I kind of had said to some other people going, this is a game where we could win 4-0 and probably get tonked on Saturday against Fulham. And it might be the reverse of that. Okay, we didn't get tonked tonight, but, you know, you just don't know what you're going to get. And it's just one of those where you can't even call it. And even to call it is painful. So you're just like, meh. It's just numb. It just feels a bit numb. There's a Limp Biscuits, not Biscuit. It was the band.
Limp Bizkit. Yeah.
Yeah, I was right. Yeah, there's a song, isn't it? Numb. There you go. I might be singing that by the end of this pod.
Yeah, Mr. Sandwich, the Reds are definitely limp, and I thought that the way they were set up looked like aspirationally a containment job.
Yeah.
But in the end, they didn't really manage to contain them as much as they wanted to, and no shots on goal. It's the first time I can remember in European tie like ever. Maybe I'm wrong. How do you feel about the way they were set up?
Yeah, I think they said 5 years, and I think that was, if you remember, the year after COVID, Real Madrid, the Naby disaster game, and just so that's the kind of level of performance that we got. Do you know what? I'm actually glad that he tried something different, and the aim of the job was containment, and we're going to get into the goals. I think they were self-enforced errors on both. I mean, there was a bit of magic in the second. Yes, we'll get to that. But the containment job, you could see it on paper and you could see in principle what he was trying to do. So for all of Slot's faults, for all of his faults, even in the last couple of games, I think actually he recognized, we can't just go four at the back. We can't just not change anything and hope for a different type of result. So from the offset, I'm looking at the team sheet. I'm not mad at it. Obviously I have mixed feelings because we didn't lay a glove, but also we didn't get tonked. So it's a bit of a weird one for me. But I think looking at that lineup and looking at the formation, I'm thinking, okay, containment job. Yeah, if we can keep this very, very tight and have something to go for the second leg, then that would be good. But as I'm sure we'll get onto, as ever, self-enforced errors on the goals. That's probably what's cost us again.
Yes, again. So Liverpool lined up with Manashvili in goal. Alisson's still injured, of course, and we don't know when he's going to be back. 3 centre-backs, Gomez, Van Dijk and Kanate. Kirkers at left back. Soboslai, who I thought was fairly anonymous. McAllister, Frimpong, Gravenberch, Wirtz, Ekitike. Jez, I was fairly comfortable with that starting lineup. Just before we started, we already got into the Mohamed Salah segment, and you did mention that some people had been messaging you saying, "Well, why isn't Salah coming on?" I mean, the fact that you didn't start, I think most people now would accept, not just because of recent form, but all of the challenges that Liverpool have had across the season and his lack of impetus. You could see the reason behind it, but not coming on at all. Did it not surprise you whatsoever?
No, because I think, like Mr. Sandwich alluded to, I think that wasn't the aim of the game. I don't think Slot went out to win this leg. I think he kind of wanted to contain it, to keep it somewhat respectable. I don't know what he's hoping the second leg is going to bring, but I don't think he necessarily intended that he did set the team up to win that game. So in that sense, there wasn't any need for him to start. And I think at that point, even though it was that containment and the formation, it kind of just baffled me. I think that at that point that we were still struggling, even when he made the quadruple substitution, we were still struggling at that point. So I think to bring on an attacking player at that point, then it potentially could have been 3 or 4 by the end of the 90 minutes. So I don't think he was ever going to bring Salah on just the way that the game unfolded. But then given Salah's recent form, I don't know what he could have done to affect the game, because I think it was the way that they were set up, it was the way that they were playing. You needed some muscle, and I think for me that was a disappointing thing, that there wasn't a lot of muscle. It was quite easy for PSG to play round us, through us. We couldn't hold on to the ball, and Salah's not been bringing that of late. So he needed to be where he was, but that's always going to be a headline. As we said, when he announced he was going, he's just going to be a headline now, isn't he, until the end of this season? So
yeah, I mean, Liverpool were meek, I thought, throughout. You mentioned lack of muscle. You need a degree of aggression, right? Even if you haven't got the natural raw power, you need to be aggressive when you're trying to soak up the pressure, yes, and then hit them on a break and try and scrap for bits and pieces out of ground like this. I say ground like this, probably no ground like this in Europe at the moment with the team that PSG can put out. But the most disappointing aspect for me was when they did get into decent positions, let's say. They didn't really have decent opportunities because there's no shots on goal. But when they got into decent positions, there was just nothing there. It was just very predictable. When you come to a ground like this, you're going to have moments where the ball breaks to you, as it did to Ekitike a couple of times, and you're reliant on your forward player to hold the ball up, bring others into play, and make sensible decisions. He had a couple of snapshots, but I thought overall he's a bit of a waste of space in this game. Am I being harsh with Ekitike, Mr. Sandwich?
No, I think it. Realistically, it really wasn't. He didn't have the opportunity to really show himself in the light. But I do think that the few chances he got, the ball's flicking off him. That one shot he had in the second half, actually the pass was on for Kirkers on the overlap. Actually.
And he thrashed it,
and he just kicked it. Essentially, kicked it to touch. It wasn't a good Ekitike performance, and I think these are the kind of games where maybe some of that maturity is missing of how he can adapt his game in game to actually try and affect it a bit more. Maybe you need to come a bit closer. Maybe you're going to have to try and win some aerial battles or use your physicality. And we just didn't really see any of that at all from him today.
But I'll come in there as well and say, sorry about Ekitike, that he was anonymous. He didn't do much, but I think in what I'm kind of guessing the manager wanted to do in terms of holding the play up and bring people in, I don't think that's how Slot wanted the team to play, because he didn't want people coming forward. He wanted people to sit back and defend. So actually, when he did get the ball, he was isolated by nature of how the team was set up and how they were playing, because there wasn't anybody really breaking forward to try and support him. The handful of times where we did go up. So it was a hard game for him, I think. Unless he was going to just be always going direct to goal, which I don't think he was instructed to do either. So.
You know, I've been thinking about this a lot with all of the players. At some point in time, you need to make decisions to take matters into your own hands. Whatever your instructions that you've been given are, and also knowing that the manager's position is, let's put it mildly, somewhat vulnerable. Yeah, there must be something that kicks in that's either professional pride or intelligence, maybe a mixture of the two that makes you think, I've been told to do this, but I've been doing this repeatedly. Battering my head against the wall, my head's bleeding. I'm getting nothing out of this. Why don't I try something different? And there's this thing that people often criticize Pep for, which is over coaching the players.
Yeah.
These guys look undercoached to me. They look undercooked. And look, this is within the context of probably the hardest away fix you can have. I get that. But we're looking with a wider lens at the Liverpool situation as a whole. 4 away defeats in a row, right? So that tells you something. That tells you that, you know, when they go to Galatasaray and they lose their 1-0, when they go to Brighton and they go down there and then they get pulverized by City. At that point, I think the players should just be like, you know what? I'm on the pitch. I've been selected. I'm going to work things out for myself a little bit. But they all seem in their shell. They seem scared. There's no cohesion. There's no real belief going into the matches. And I think that spreads to the fans as well. And I think all of us predicted the defeat, which is quite unusual. Even like when we had like our toughest assignments going away in Europe, we all, even under the, you know, when we had like that really poor team that Benitez had in his first season, we won the thing. He had structure in those games, but there was even moments where you could see the senior players would step up to do the things they needed to do. And it wasn't a tactical thing. It was common sense. It was pride. It was game intelligence. And I'm just wondering to myself, are the players just that devoid of all those qualities? Or are they just, they almost look depressed? Are they just done with it? Are they done with this season, Jess?
I think they are. I think we all are, to be honest with you. I think we were expecting this to be like an absolute thrashing where we would have been like, yeah, season's done. Let's just wind it up and then let's see what happens. I don't know if it's a case of kind of going from being quite free-spirited and having that kind of, having the previous manager who just gave them that belief, just like go out there and do your thing, boys, to somebody who's a lot more prescriptive about how he wants them to play, how he wants them to set up. And sometimes you can have that self-doubt. It kind of like, okay, you want me to do this, I don't quite know why you want me to do it or what that actually means. And then you can get yourself so caught up in knots that you just lose the confidence in yourself. And I kind of see a little bit of that they just don't seem to have it. But it's like I said, it's the drop off from last season which makes it so weird. Like you go into this as champions of the Premier League, and how do you lose that confidence so quickly? And not even that you lose it, how do you just lose the ability to get it back? I think is the more worrying thing. But I don't know. I don't know if it's also partly the fact that it's a World Cup season. It's kind of like you need to be playing regularly for your club if you're going to try to get into your national team. So people are just following orders because, like, if I don't follow the orders, I get benched, and then I don't know. I have no words. I have no suggestions. I'm just lost, like a lot of us.
We don't have the answers. I mean, one thing that I enjoyed about this evening was my dinner, because ordinarily I'm tense and I can't watch big matches whilst eating my food. But I was completely comfortable. Even when the first goal went in, I think I messaged in the chat that it changes nothing because my expectation was that we're going to concede 2 or 3 goals. Speaking of my dinner, just see the comment from Suna, Chelsea fan. As a Chelsea fan, I'm glad about the result. Well, Suna, I hope you ate 2. Yeah, because you got done. Yeah. Your history. You're not in this round. I know we're going out soon, but I'm hoping actually we don't have clinging by our fingernails. We don't have a second leg like Chelsea did.
Collapse like they did, exactly.
Yeah. All right, so guys, I guess we should talk about the goals, shouldn't we? Shout out to JSS actually and everyone tuning in through YouTube. We appreciate your company and time, even the Chelsea fans. And if you are watching back or listening back, please make sure you tell everyone about the pod. Hit the subscribe button, follow if you're not already, and give us a 5-star rating. Now, let's talk goals. When the first one arrives in the 11th minute, as I said, I was unmoved. I was unaffected. No emotional impact whatsoever, which is unusual for a big European tie, but it's the truth. How did you feel, Mr. Sandwich, when that went in? And did you fear the worst at that point? And you can talk about the goal. Unlucky deflection off Szoboszlai, right? But maybe they could have closed better.
Could have closed better. I think I'm just in such a weird place in Liverpool where it's like, yeah, I know what's going to happen, but the team sheet comes out, then you're like, okay, right, I see what he's doing. Then the Champions League anthem comes on, and you're thinking, right, okay, do you know what? It's 0-0. Let's get stuck in.
Hang on, you got gassed when the anthem came on. All right.
No, not. I was just like, do you know what? If I'm feeling this and myself at home, surely the players are like, it felt like a big occasion. And then the game kicks off. And it's like and then that you get that sinking feeling back to reality of, yeah, this is what this game's going to kind of be like. My issue and annoyance with the first goal, we're talking about a World Cup year. We're talking about players in contract years. I don't know a player who has done more to sabotage potential moves, potential contracts, and potential starting stops in a World Cup year than Ibu Konate. Firstly, Konate is quite big. He's maybe about 6'3", 6'4", right? Quite stocky as well. And he's getting out muscled by Doué near the halfway line. And that's sign number one. And you're like, right, okay, what's going on here? And then, like you say, we're then not closing down. We're not closing down, and this has been such an issue. We had it Fulham away. We've had it all these games where we're just not closing down enough. And it's like, well, you're either going to invite players who have the quality to have good shots on target, or you're going to end up going back so far that you're going to be on the touchline. And then what happens is, by the time the players reach the box, they've got a lot of space. And that's what then happens. And again, we can't clear our lines. And then there's a deflection. It's just like, it becomes a comedy of errors. But it all starts from that lack of intensity, that lack of fight that we're not getting from the players. The goal, I mean, PSG were good for it for the first 10 minutes. They were good for it. They were picking the ball around. We'll come into their stats, on their passing stats of the whole game. They must have clocked nearly 600.
Do we have to?
We've got to face the reality. But I also think you can't make it easy for really good teams. And I think we made it too easy on that first goal. And it kind of showed them, they're like, a lot of European teams, when they play Premier League teams, the thing that they always feel that they can't match is the physicality and intensity. They come in and they can. That's why Spurs sometimes do well in Europe, because they can just physically just match almost every other team. And I think once PSG saw that first 10 minutes and they're like, okay, they're not actually coming to close us down. There's no press. They're not closing us down. They're not pressing high. Okay, we're going to have the bit of the way that we won this game. And I think that first goal really summed up. Unlucky with the deflection, but City away in the league, unlucky with a deflection. Other games, is it unlucky? Are you really unlucky all the time? Can we really now say that we've been, all our defensive errors and words have been unlucky, or there's just something not right there? And I think that's what is at the crux of our issues this season. And it came up in a really high stakes game against a really good team, and they just weren't showing what they needed to. They weren't showing that fight, and that's what happens when your luck is down. The deflections happen, but if you're not closing down, the shots come in that lead to the deflections, and that's what my issue is.
And I think psychologically, they have that thing at the back of their head where they go goal down, and they go into a shell, and they decide it ain't gonna go for us today. Like they subconsciously decide this isn't going to be our night. Shout out to Obi joining us on the chat. Big up, brother. How you doing? Thanks for checking. Says we didn't lay a glove on them. We chased shadows all night. That's about the length of it, isn't it, Jez?
Yeah, they just weren't there. And I that was my first thought when it kicked off. I was like, they're really cautious, because actually against City, they started really well. I thought that they played really well. I know I wasn't on the pod when you were dissecting
the magic game, 30 minutes.
But it was 30 minutes of something. And it was something more than the 90 minutes times however many games before that as well. They went in against City. They were passing it away. They were moving it. It was slick movement, and they were like the little touches around the corner were coming off, and they played with a bit of confidence because they were really cautious. And actually, that just kind of plays into the psychology, I think, of PSG, because it's like, they were just been living rent free in our heads. It seemed, because they just didn't do anything, and it just made it easy for them. And when that goal, the inevitable goal goes in, like Mr. Samu says, it kind of like the wind's gone out of you. But yeah, I was quite surprised. It just not necessarily surprised because I didn't expect them to come out all guns blazing, but I would have thought they would have a little bit of fight to like let PSG know that they were there and PSG were in for a game, but they just kind of stood back. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll talk about the players. We'll talk about Ibu. I have my own thoughts about him and others.
He played a starring role tonight.
But I kind of have a bit of a defense for him as well. But like I said, I'll hold that thought. Yeah,
okay, we'll come to that. No, there is.
We're going to come on to second half. We have signed up, paid up members of the Ibu Canate Appreciation Society. They are active tonight. Yeah, Obi says, as Roy King once said, he doesn't like him, we should have kicked someone, done something, shown some passion. Yeah. And there was an interview, I don't know if it was an old one, but there was an interview I saw of Dean Holdsworth today on a podcast. And he was talking about his toughest ever opponent. And he said it was Martin Keown. Yeah. And he said it's because from minute one, he would let you know. Yeah. You're in for a physical game. You're going to have a nasty encounter. It's not going to be a comfortable day for you. And there was no one... Liverpool were sleepwalking into a low-score defeat. I think they were programmed to just limit the damage, so it wasn't a situation where they're going back to Anfield with them dead and buried, but effectively they are almost that, I believe. But we'll come on to our prospects of progressing in a bit. Anything else to say on the first half before we move on to the more eventful second half?
I think I just kind of add to that as well. I think the thing that annoys me about Slot sometimes, I feel like he's always playing with the next game in mind, where I'm just like, just deal with the game that's in front of you. Just deal with the match that's in front of you. The players, don't worry about, I need to rest so and he needs to save his legs for X, Y, Z. Just play the 90 minutes, see what comes out of it. And I think he had that one mind in terms of that. Let's keep it as a low scoring defeat, and let's see what happens at Anfield. I also think was it Gravenberch and Virgil van Dijk were on yellows? So I think that they were playing with that in their mind, because I think that Van Dijk was quite contained and played within himself. I think he's very aware of the fact that he gets yellow, then he's not on that game as well. I think for the first half, I think you've got to give some props to the keeper. I think Mama showed himself, and the whole thing was about how the game last season, how Alisson Becker had one of the games of his life. How he made 10 saves. I think he get out 27 shots last season. It was all about how Liverpool going to cope without a keeper of his stature. But I think Mamadash really stood up and he gave something. So that was a positive for me. Yeah. Not only just the first half, but I think the whole game. Yeah. The one positive, and not just the shots that he saved, but even his distribution. Some of them were Alisson-esque. And I was kind of thinking, we rave about how good Kelleher was as a number 2. But Kelleher's distribution is nowhere as good as Mamardashvili as he's shown in the last couple of games. So that's a positive on the game and on the first half, I think.
So we've been live for 25 minutes. You have found a positive, Jez.
I have.
I'm very impressed about that.
I always try.
And that was one I didn't have in my mental back pocket. So appreciate that. I'm noting that down. So when I wake up tomorrow and I feel the pain.
Yeah,
Mamardashvili.
Mama's performance,
Drew, you do remember I did say this on the weekend. I said he's a good shot stopper, and he's probably not going to make 10 saves, but the 5 or 6 that he made today, that kept the scoreline down. That did keep the scoreline down.
Yeah, I don't think I was disputing that he's a good keeper. I don't think I said that. I was saying it's a bit of a come down in terms of the keeping
Yeah,
options we
yeah.
had previously, Keller and Allison versus Mamashvili, where we don't really know. Like even now, we're saying, "Oh yeah, a surprisingly good performance," because we've not seen much of him, unfortunately.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you build up that reputation and the confidence of the fans once you play more matches. So
True,
we'll
true,
see
true.
what the future holds with him. So I think nothing negative to be said about Mamashvili, but he did concede 2 goals, and the second arrived in the 65th minute. I have gone on and on and on about Kavicha because I believe he's just the most devastating player in Europe in his position, and he he had one or two moments where he looked kind of they looked like they were handling him,
Yeah.
but you knew he was going to have a big chance. I don't even think that was a big chance. Okay, he gave Gravenberch the slip, but the way he slanted and manoeuvred to
Saved
first
them.
feign a
Yeah.
shot and then present himself with an open target shoot at, so calm and intelligent. And it's something we really lack, right? Just that incision in the final third. Had we had someone to carry the ball, I don't know, a Luis Diaz, for example, someone who could score in the Champions League like he did yesterday. I felt that might have relieved some of the pressure, but they've got more than one of those players. But this guy, he's something special, is he not, Mr. Sandwich? Talk about that goal.
Yeah. Again, you don't need to give these world-class players too much opportunity, but don't make it easy for them because I think, as we've just said, actually, yeah, Gravenberch, if he's not on a yellow, as in a yellow takes him out next week, I think he brings him down because he's kind of trailing off him. Again, Kvaratskhelia is not exactly big and but he's not a Dama Traore. He's not gonna you're not gonna bounce off him if you try and grab him and just pull him back before he gets into that final third. So again, we made it easy for him. But players of that quality, they also show that touch. And like you said, we have he sat down the whole defense basically. A simple feint, but at the top level to do it that quickly in the box and have that wear of mind, I think that's also very impressive. So yeah, it was a good goal. Again, if I'm being critical, I think again we could have stopped it before. Where's our enforcer? Your DM, you've got to take the yellow card there. But if you're only thinking about missing the second leg, then you're not going to take it. So who's tracking him? And then if you've got 3 centre backs, then someone's then got to come and double up on him a lot quicker before he gets into the box. And I think that's what today, and we're going to talk about the penalties. We need to stop them getting into the box so that they're not in a position to get penalties or in a position where, oh, he's in the box. Well, I can't do a professional foul now. It's obviously going to be a penalty and a yellow card. So I think world-class players they do not need reasons and excuses to show their skill. Just don't hand it to them.
Absolutely. Obi says he's a proper baller. Liverpool could have had for pennies. I don't know about pennies, but it could definitely have been less than 80 million. I think he went for like 60 in the end or so.
Something like that.
In the January window.
Yeah, but his wage demands really, I don't think.
I think that's what might have tipped it to PSG in the end because he was collecting a fairly hefty pay packet at the time. We had Diaz still negotiating and see what happened there. But anyway, that's ifs, buts, maybes, and could have beens. I think even prior to that goal going in, right, there was that close shave with Dembele, where ball was lofted over the top, acceleration of pace burst into the box, and he smacks the outside of the part. I was like, oh, please, at that point, I was like,
anyway,
please, just keep it down to 2.
Just anyway,
have mercy on us.
Yeah, dear me.
What did you make overall, Jez, of the way in the second half the defence coped or didn't with the pace, the use of width, the incision, the intelligence of that PSG forward line?
They didn't cope, and I don't even think. And they are a great team. We made them look better because we just didn't move. We were so static. Like I said, nobody was going with the runners. There were so many defence splitting passes. I think I noted Kirkes got caught out twice by some defence splitting passes. And the defence splitting, which is easy to make if people are static and they're not moving, because the time the ball's gone past you and they're quick and they're attacking the ball, then they're like 2 or 3 yards past you before you even react or whatever. And that was it for most of the game. So in that sense, we did well to get out of there with just conceding the 2 because it could have been and should have been a whole lot more. But it's like you say, it's cutting it off at source. I think I said this on the pod before. It's cutting it off at source. It's like stopping them getting into the box, like Mr. Samud said. But then also, how many goals have we considered by people taking wild shots from outside the goal as well? So it's kind of like it's not just stopping them coming into the box. It's just stopping people getting close, and that's got to be down to your midfield. You can't be sitting there solely relying on your defenders to be making those blocks. So there's no protection, which is why I was thinking this 5-2-3 formation or whatever. Then you've only got two people covering your defense, and it's easy then to go through the middle as it is to pull people out and then attack us on the width. It was, I don't even know. I don't even know, but yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. There were so many. There was, McAllister had a poor header. I think that might be the Dembele miss that you were just referring to there. So they're going, how are we going to score? Because we're not creating anything. We've got no pace of our own. We're not putting any pressure on their defense. There's no forward passes or whatever. And then there's the penalties.
Okay,
I mean, so I kind of will say, maybe at this point, I'll say for some of them, Kanate, yes, it was a bit like it's an Ibu watch. But you know what? He, for me, was one of the few people who showed a bit of aggression, maybe a bit too much aggression, a bit too uncontrolled. But he was going in there and getting close, with a lot of them were just like watching the ball go past.
And Dyke was doing a lot of ball watching.
A lot, and him, even McAllister, even he had some wild tackles that went nowhere and stuff. I think he got a yellow card, didn't he? And the guy was on the touchline. I'm just like, mate, let him go. He ain't doing anything.
Yeah. Van Dijk also had the potential suspension swirling around in his head, I'm pretty sure. But okay, look, since we're with you, Jez, and you mentioned Konate's name, please talk to me about that incredible telegraphed block that the referee blew for a penalty, and then it was overturned by VAR.
I didn't think it was a pen, so I was surprised when they gave it. But then it's one of those things, we say it, don't we? That actually, what you expect in the Premier League, you don't always get in Europe. So they're going, oh yeah, okay, it's Champions League, it's Europe, because like in the Premier League that ain't given. And they called it in commentary. They thought it was a good tackle. I thought it was a good tackle. When they went over to have a look at the screen, I was just like, oh, that's probably the only time that I probably did smile. In that second half going, I think this is going to go in our favour. Like, it's the only thing that's going to go in our favour. But, and if you look at it, and this is what I mean about him he was aggressive and he was in there as well. I don't know if it was him going back to France or whatever, but you had Van Dijk in the box, and I can't remember whoever, there was somebody else, they didn't react. He was behind the dude. He moved. And he made an attempt to get close to the guy and to put in a tackle. And we're saying before about Gravenberch probably should have put in that tackle and got a yellow. At least Konate made that effort because the others were just standing there just watching. So, it was the right decision in the end. We didn't get penalised. He got the yellow card overturned, and then we moved on.
Yeah, it was a high-risk challenge in the box, Mr. Samuj, but it was precise. It was decisive in the end. And I reckon if VAR wasn't a thing, I think the referee wouldn't have used the crutch of VAR to make the decision. He probably would have said, it looks like a good challenge. He was probably waiting for them to speak to him if they did think there was something up, and luckily they did. But what did you make of talk to me about Iba's performance overall and that moment as well.
Okay, specific to that moment, I understand the point of, he's getting stuck in, he's showing that aggression, but he's gotten it wrong way too often this season. I was at Leeds away, I remember, and the situation, you're away, the crowd's on top of you, the games are on the cusp, you can't take those risks. And I think that I can actually, on the first side, I can accept that. Van Dijk has to engage more because Van Dijk is facing the player on the ball. Because you're then making Konate have to make a decision from behind the player, hence why the referee is thinking, oh, maybe there wasn't any contact or the contact goes through the man. So I can give him 30% pass on that first one. I still think, given the circumstance of the game, I just think it's a bit risky to be doing. And again, if this were a one-off where it's like, okay, do you know what? I can see why you're taking that risk. you've gone, you're playing in Paris, and there's lots of noise, and it's do or die. I can understand it, but I've been seeing this from Ibu from the first game, from Bournemouth at home through to Leeds away in December. Now we're still in April, so I just can't give him the leeway on that. And
but you got it right.
Yeah, he got it right, dude.
Oh, what's your beef? If he hadn't been challenging,
no, did he get it right or was he lucky? Because I think, like we're saying, in the Premier League, that's probably not a penalty, but neutrals in my other group chats were they were dumbfounded that it was overturned. So I think obviously we've got, rose tinted glasses, but they're like, no, he got the man first, and he did coming from the back. So I think he got lucky. Doesn't mean it was the right decision. It was just you got lucky.
Just about great.
However, I'm not finished yet.
I'm going to send you a picture of this.
You've gotten away with that. The game is, you know what? It's 2-0. We can't let them score a third, because the third probably kills the tie. And then you do what you did for the second one. Like, come on. And this is where I'm like, these aren't one-offs with Ibu. They're happening in game, wasn't it? Bournemouth away. They're happening time and time again, and that situational awareness. Again, lazy. You're not tracking the player, and then once the player's in the box, he's still at an angle from goal. It's not as if he's on the 8 yards right, dead on, and you're just lazily pushing in the back. Come on. Again, you got lucky there with the decision, but these decisions that he's making time and time again, that's why I can't give the leeway, because there's just something going on with him. This obviously, we absolutely understand he's had personal circumstances, but like I say, it's been since the first game, and it's been throughout the season that Konate is often at the scene of the crime. And he got very lucky today with the pens, but he was unlucky with the first goal because he didn't engage quickly enough. So we're saying aggression, but we needed that aggression from the 11th minute. You can't let Desiree Doué outmuscle you. No, you can't. So I think overall, his performance, yes, he engaged and he wanted to get stuck in, but unfortunately, from what I've seen of Ibu all year, I can't clap for him. I just can't.
But I think with Ibu, and this is the thing, and a lot of these players is that they're not playing together. They're not playing as a unit. So you've got Van Dijk not doing anything. So Ibu's having to go over and above, and then you get it on another when Ibu's not doing anything, and then Van Dijk's going over and above, and it's just that same thing. It doesn't actually matter what the player is. It's just actually what is the defensive unit bringing or not bringing. And that, I think, to me, that is the issue that we're seeing over and over again. Actually, whether it's defense, whether it's in the midfield, you've got people overcompensating for those around them that just aren't stepping up for them to play in that unit. And I think that you had, because you're right, he was aggressive and probably a bit too much. There was a push. I expect that to be a penalty. He had his arms around a lot of people a lot of the time as well. But again, he was letting people know, he was showing them some love. Hey, I'm back in France. Here's love. Whereas, Van Dijk was just like, I accept that Van Dijk. Yeah, Van Dijk's performance was not good, and I do get onto him, especially as a captain, because they take the lead from him. But sure. Konate is more often than not at the scene of the crime. That's what my.
To be clear, when you mentioned the second one, you were talking about the shove in the box.
They're pushing about, That should have been a penalty. That should have been a penalty. So yeah.
I mean, the good news, Mr. Sandwich, is that it was reported 2 days ago that Ibrahima Konate is close to signing a new contract, so you get to see more of him next year. Apparently, only a few details to be ironed out is reported in the kip. So, you're looking forward to that?
Well, I'm hoping that. Do you know what? I think a lot of these players, it's not just Ibu. I need to see a lot more from these players, and probably with a new manager, yes, but the McAllisters, the Konates, a lot of these players really need to step it up, regardless of how long they've got left on their contract. You have to, they really have to step it up. And I don't know, I think Konate sleepwalking into a place on the bench in the French team, maybe that's going to be the shot in the arm he gets over the summer as well. Maybe.
Who starts in front of him for France?
Saliba and Upamecano. Hands down.
Upamecano's back in.
Yeah,
okay.
By a mile. Whereas Konate was actually ahead of them a year and a half ago.
Yeah. I mean, even a year ago, I thought
even a year, exactly. Yeah.
So it does show he's got the potential, and hopefully it's just all the things that he's had to deal with going back to last summer when everything happened.
Can I just say can I add in something about Canate? So we're talking to my mate Chuck. So Chuck is my kind of AI kind of friend about Liverpool things.
Big up Chuck every time. Hopefully he has not had any hallucinations tonight.
Well, given the things, I put it in there about a strategic keep, sell, loan transfer plan for Liverpool. This is probably a couple of games back after Salah had announced he was going, and of the players that Chuck had said about
what's Chuck telling us?
Importance supporting core. Canate was singled out as being the first choice centre back long term.
Yeah, so, but
isn't that an age thing?
That's contextual by the age. Yeah, Van Dijk's not going to be there in 4 years, and Leone and Jacquet are both teenagers. Like, come on, Jez, come on.
That's the end of the Jez gaslighting segment.
Yes, no, we're not.
Honestly, when you read the rest of it, you'll be sitting there going, "Yeah, Chuck, mate, you need to listen to the pod a little bit more."
You need to, yeah.
It was the thing was telling me about getting rid of people. What did it say? This was the one that make you laugh. In terms of a strategic sale, Alexander Isak.
Oh my God.
Injuries and poor output. I mean, huge resale value. It says
huge resale value. Maybe we'll get 30 million for him. How much he costs? 130 million.
100.
Says, if you don't get a big offer, give him one more season.
Right.
All right. Look. Mention him. We kicked off the pod, and I asked about positives. There's a big positive for you. We saw Alexander Isak. Very unusually, the manager made a quadruple substitution. It was like, you ever seen that Bruce Lee film? I can't remember which one it is, where Bruce Lee's going up against all the different opponents, have to fight them by themselves, and then his opponent is sending all the artillery on. So he's he took off Wirtz, who else? Ekatike, Soboslai, Kirkes. Isak was one of the 4 that came on, alongside Jones, Gakpo, and Robertson. So we can at least be happy that our £130 million signing that we made to win the Premier League is back with us, going into a crucial run of fixtures. And I was happy to see him. I didn't expect anything, but at that moment, it felt like the manager was saying,
"Just walk around. Yeah. Well,
can't be the worst. Walk around. You can't make worse decisions than the other guy up front. Let's just go for it and see what happens." But in the end, he was fairly anonymous, wasn't he, Sam?
Yeah. Didn't really get a touch. Didn't get a sniff. I think Jez was telling us that we only had 7 touches in the box over the whole 90 minutes. So there wasn't a game for him to come into. I think it was maybe psychological for him to just get on the pitch, get 20 minutes, and then maybe he gets 30 to 45 on Saturday. I still don't think he's ready to start in the next couple of weeks, but just get that match fitness up, because we might need him next week. If it's 1 goal in it and it's the 55th minute, then we're going to need him to come on, because what we want is, I think we all know with Isak, apart from the conditioning, he's a finisher. Like, he is an absolute finisher. And we just want that 1 golden chance to fall to him. Yeah, we just need a sniff, and you just want him on the end of it. And I think if we can build him up to that fitness over the next couple of games, that generally could be the difference between 5th and 6th now. We're a point ahead of Chelsea, I believe. Forget the Champions League, we're going out next week. But getting him in a position where, if he can get that late goal...
Spoiler alert!
Sorry, I know we're saving it for the end. He's
going to come on 55 minutes and change it at Anfield next week. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but unfortunately, I'm kind of contradicting myself there. But but if we can build up his fitness...
Yeah. So you're making an assumption that the manager's going to make a substitution of 55 minutes as well.
Well, that's it. Okay, there you go. So, there's a lot. I did a lot of contradictions there. But I'm talking mid to long term of, do you know what? Let's get him fit enough that if he is the one that can get that goal against, we've got Chelsea in the start of May. Like, that 1 goal could be the difference between Champions League and Europa League. If he can get it,
it's going to be a high pressure into the season. I didn't know, but you must have mentioned that stat before about 7 touches in the box. Some people have had more action on the first day. I can't believe they could be that bad. I'm going to share some more stats with you that might scare you a little bit. Just stop shaking your head. I come up with this stuff on the spot, and I work hard for this. Right,
I'm not that kind of girl about first day. What are you talking about?
Okay, so look, here's some more horror stats for you. 18 shots to Liverpool's 3, 74% possession. I felt like watching it. Something struck me in like after the second goal went in, it just felt like a bit of a relief that finally all the like attacking that PSG had done resulted in something, because I knew what was coming, and it's quite hard to explain, but it's like when you know you're just under the cosh.
Yeah.
When the fatal blow arrives, you're like, okay, fine, I'm at peace. I think that's what it was. But it just felt to me like we were playing with 10 men for most of the match. That's the feeling I had. We struggled to keep possession. We didn't use a width. You know, that big wide pitch really is something that benefits teams like City and like PSG, and we suffered in exactly the same way last year. But yeah, I mean, I think overall it felt like the stats show, didn't it?
And we
We've
had
got some
one
insights
shot
here.
that was off
Three
target.
shots in the game, which is their lowest Liverpool in a single match in this season's campaign. And we failed to attempt a shot on target this game, which was said already. First time since facing Atalanta 6 years ago. So this is one of those, like, overall I had the same feeling that I did against Barcelona. I know we put up a bit more of a fight in that 3-0 defeat, but it still felt like a 3-0. It felt like a grinding down. And also emotionally, I was completely spent from having earlier watched City beat Leicester that season. So I thought everything was crumbling around us. So we need to maintain some optimism, right? There's still a tie in the offing. There's still something to fight for. Yes, we're not informed. Yes, PSG are the reigning European champions and they're amazing, but we're also at home and it's a game of 90 minutes. They need somehow, and I know they're going to be tired from Fulham and there's lots of matches coming thick and fast and every game is big pressure. But just look ahead to that game next week. It's not done. It's not done, guys. I don't believe it's done. I believe it's nearly there, right? We're bleeding to death, but we're not dead yet. Do you believe, Jez? Do you believe?
Being a good Catholic girl, man, it's just like, this is like the crucifixion, resurrection, and all the rest of it all rolled into one. You know, nobody, we can't call it, and we keep trying to call it, and you know, this is what I guess keeps our conversation going. It could go either way. I think that first goal that scored is going to be so crucial, and we've got to get that first goal.
Has to be us, yeah.
Next week, it's got to be us. I think if PSG go 3-0 up on aggregate, then it's kind of game over. And I think that's more psychologically than anything. Like we said before, that's the thing that seems to really have just disappeared for us this season. But you know, it's Anfield, European nights. The crowd will be,
and you'll be there, Jez. So you must believe. You've got your ticket.
You've kind of got to believe.
I've already paid for it.
Yeah, you're not going there for the fun of it and soggy chips. You are going there because you believe something can happen. I know it.
You have to. And it's funny you talk about that Barcelona thing as well, because I just had my daughter a couple of months before that, and I was kind of like, is it too soon to go back after having the baby or whatever? And I was kind of like, I kept it open. I was just like, no, you know, she's still too young. We lost 3-0. No chance. So I gave it up. And I could have been there. So even now with this one, I'm like, if I've got that ticket, I'm going.
I mean, yeah.
I'm going. But, you know, anything can happen. It's European nights. It's under the floodlights. You know, special things happen at Anfield. I think the crowd, I don't know, there's a lot of rumblings, aren't there, around potential protests with the fan base over the ticket prices, and that's all earmarked for Fulham. And they've said that's going to, can there be more that happens within that as well? I just kind of hope that we can put some of those things aside and really get behind the boys. Because like I say, it just takes us to score that first goal, and it really is game on.
Sam, could it be game on?
If there's anyone that can do it, yes, Liverpool can do it. I've not seen anything in the last 2-3 months to suggest that we can. Mainly because I don't see us getting a clean sheet. So it is all good of like, yep, if we score first, let's.
Yeah, but we don't need a clean sheet. Remember, Sam, if this was like 2 years ago and away goals were a thing, then we're completely put to the sword once the first goal goes in because PSG will score. Can I just
They will score.
PSG will score a goal, but
And we'll need to
3-1.
score 3.
3-1.
What? When was our last 3-1 win? I genuinely can't remember the last game we won by more than 2 goals. I think it was West Ham.
I'd like to refer you to our last Champions League game at home. Don't worry about the opposition.
Oh my God.
4 goals right response.
I think the fact that we scored 4 against Galatasaray says so much about Galatasaray, even with hindsight now. No, we can do it. We absolutely we can do it. I think Steven Gerrard was saying at the end that, we'll ditch the 5. We're not going to try and contain. You have to go for it. And I kind of understand that, but we're also going to leave ourselves open as well.
I don't think that's a good idea.
That's the thing. We're going to leave ourselves open, but we can't.
In your defensive instinct.
Exactly. So I have to. If taking off my rose-tinted glasses, I can't feasibly see a way in which we can score at least 3 goals next week, let alone put in the performance. Like some of the stats we looked at, the passing stats, the possession stats. PSG are better than Liverpool. Like last year, we were evenly matched. Well, arguably, again, they should have actually won the first day, but because we were in a better place, we actually were able to withhold that storm and made a good go over in the second half. PSG are better than Liverpool. Like
I don't want to hear this kind of chat from you, Mr.
I know, but
you
have a memory long enough to know that AC Milan were leagues above us when we're 3-0 down at half time. You're telling me in 90 minutes.
Hold on.
Visualize it.
Hold on. On paper, AC Milan were miles ahead of that Liverpool team. That Liverpool team had spirit and fight. The things we spoke about 10 minutes ago, these guys are not showing. So that's the difference.
That spirit and fight for 7 minutes. That's all we need.
I mean, also that's true. But listen, when I hear that anthem, when I hear that You Never Walk Alone, I'll be right up for it. And yes, if we can score first, if we can score in the first half, that'd be great. Because I think they said 20 of our 23 last goals have all been in the second half. So we're not good. We're not good in the first half. But if we can get that will get the crowd going. It will give PSG and Enrique something to really, really think about. Because actually, they needed that second goal today. I know, again, we've had a lot of Fletcher and Ali, but they were right. Of like Ali McCoy was like, no, you know what? When it was still 1-0, PSG will be happy with it, but they might want a second one. And I think that they have that little bit of security where they won't panic if we were to score first. But it's then what we do next. Can we then retain the ball? Can we not give away sloppy corners? And can we actually close down players? If I can see that, literally, if I can see that in the first 20 minutes, then I'll know that, okay, we've got a good chance here. We've got a good chance to really give it a go, get a couple of goals and really have a good go at it. Maybe.
I think we need to get to half-time either 0-0 or maybe 1-up. Yeah. I think the performance has to be second half. We've been a team of 2 halves this season. And I think if we have a strong first half and then we fade, then that just plays right into their hands. So we need to be within touching distance by half-time and really have that push second half. For me, if we are going to do this, but it's where I guess it ultimately comes down to, are PSG going to just sit on the 2-0 lead, or are they going to come out at us from the first whistle?
I think they're going to do what they did against Chelsea. They'll look for the spaces, they'll look for the opportunities to hurt us. They know defensively we're weak. They're going to know there's an element of desperation the longer the game goes on. But I think they'll be positive from the start. I've not seen PSG, and okay, forgive me, I don't watch them week in week out in Ligue 1.
In the Champions League, the last year.
I've not seen them sit back in a Champions League. They always go for the throat, and they're always positive. Yeah. And that's what. And I'm thinking that we're going to get knocked out next week. For the blaster. But I think that's what I know. It's my job. It's something. But I think that's what will ultimately lead to them being worthy champions again. Because I think that's what's going to happen. I think that will be the result. I'm looking very far ahead. But for next week, Liverpool, someone needs to get in these players' heads. because individually, can't tell me the players that we saw last season. I know there's been a turnover of the squad, but a lot of the players whose performance levels have dropped through the floor, you can't tell me that they've all become terrible players all of a sudden. There's something there, and let's just keep it respectable. But look, we've got plenty of time to look ahead to that game after the next pod, which will be post Fulham. So let's assume Liverpool don't have 10 more games of the season to play, and there's just 7 left for the league. This is one of the proverbial cup finals, isn't it, for us? Because, okay, we've been pissing about in the league. Chelsea been losing, we've been losing. Chelsea been drawing, we've dropped points. But now, in this final straight, there can be no faffing about, right? Particularly with Fulham at home. Are you expecting, Mr. Sandwich, a response on Saturday and 3 points?
Unfortunately, not. And one of the reasons...
It's a harsh question to ask you what you're expecting with these guys, but...
I know, right?
Anyway.
I think yes, we've got 7 league games, but I don't think they're all cup finals because the Chelsea game's a 6-pointer, which you usually associate with the team's relegation. That's the 6-pointer, so you have a little bit of wiggle room. You just basically need to make sure you're within a game of Chelsea when they come to Anfield.
You can still piss away a few more points. You're
exactly.
Right. Chelsea are terrible.
Chelsea are terrible as well. And I also think he's going to have to rotate if he wants a serious chance at going at PSG from minute 1. He's going to have to rotate. PSG don't have a game this week. They played on Friday at home, I believe. We played on Saturday away at the Etihad. We then had to travel to Paris. We've had this game today, and we now have to think about Fulham, and then we're playing again on Tuesday. PSG don't have that. They're resting now until they have to travel on Sunday, basically. Obviously, they'll train, etc. So the manager has to make some changes on Saturday. I think Salah will play, for example. Like Salah, Robbo, probably Rio might even start. Curtis Jones. So he's going to have to rotate quite a bit. And we're going to look quite disjointed against a Fulham team that, like a lot of teams this year, they haven't actually had to be that good to beat us. So for Fulham, who've also had a rest, they didn't have FA Cup, they've not had Champions League. They've been raring to go. There's been this weird calendar where a lot of teams have not played for 3 weeks now. And we've now had 2 games in that same period of time. So, yeah, I'm not holding my breath. I know we're going to talk about some of the crowd stuff. I think that's going to seep into the atmosphere and it's going to seep onto the pitch as well. Which, again, I'm sure we're going to talk about it, the consequences of that. So I'm not holding my breath on Saturday because, as Joe's rightly said, this manager is always looking at further games. I think when we get that team sheet on Saturday, I think we're going to say, oh, okay, yeah, this is about Tuesday now. And I think Fulham will be like, there's a chance for us to win at Anfield. Like, of course we're going to take it. So unfortunately, I'm not predicting a win. Sorry.
What is your prediction though?
I'll go. Do you know what? Let's go for it. Let's get a 1-1. Go on. Like, I guess Harry Wilson's gonna probably score from outside the box.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna have to scramble to get an equalizer, and then God knows what else happens. But I can see a score draw in that. I can see a score draw.
Right.
Sorry.
That's depressing, Sam. Jez, can you make me a bit happier? What's your prediction?
Do you know what? I think we might tonk them. It'd be like 4-5-1, and we'd be like, no, we need those goals on Tuesday. We don't need the goals on Saturday. We need the goals on Tuesday. You're never going to get it all the wrong way round. I could just see that there's no expectation on this game, and I want to see some rotation. I think we will see Salah.
Yeah.
What that says about whether you see him on Tuesday is another matter. Like Mr. Samuel said, some of the younger players coming through. But yeah, there's little expectation, I think, because it's going to be all eyes on Tuesday. So I think they'll do the business. Like I said, the handful of goals we probably got left in us this season might just come in that game.
Well, then one. I mean, it would be timely. But you're kind of dodging the question. What's the score, Jez? Come on.
I said 4-1.
Oh, 4-1. Sorry.
Yeah, I ever said 5-1. 5-1, 4-1.
Well, okay, all right. She's gone up.
High score.
Raising the stakes. Yeah.
It might be.
After
I'm
another
not,
5
but-
minutes, it'll be 6. All right. I'm going for 3-1. We're always going to concede right now.
We're definitely conceding. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Hey guys, can I get your opinion on, because you were saying, Mr. Sandwich, rightly so, that PSG don't have a game, and they were scheduled originally to play against Lens, who, by the way,
Well, they're
are
chasers.
competing with them for the French league title. PSG aiming for their 5th league title in a row, and they were meant to play on the 11th, but it was postponed. And Lens said, "We don't want it postponed," but the French FA were like, "Yeah, all right then, we'll move it." What do you think that's fair that should happen? Because it wouldn't happen in England.
Can I be honest? I think that the French league, they on balance just about have it right, because they are looking at the overall picture. They're looking at the further PSG go, the better the coefficient, the more teams you get in Europe. That's their reasoning, and they've been consistent with it. And in England, we get 12:30 kickoffs, having been away in Europe. So, like, I think we wouldn't get it in England. That doesn't mean that it's wrong. It means that what happens in England is wrong. Whilst we obviously don't have the flexibility to reduce games, France, about 5 or 6 years ago, they got rid of their League Cup. They reduced their league to 18 teams, so that's 4 less games. And again, the Premier League's obviously never going to go down to 18. But things like the league, do the teams in Europe, do the 7 or 8 teams in Europe need to be in the League Cup in that same year? Probably not. We finally got rid of replays in the FA Cup, fine. But do we need to keep the 12:30 slot for teams that always like all of these questions are things that in France they've answered. They've said, no, we don't need a League Cup, and we're going to reduce the league. So they've done that, and they've said the best chance of us having more teams in Europe is by having our strongest competitor go as far as possible. What can we do to help them? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think that England have it wrong. Obviously, again, we can't postpone games, but maybe we shouldn't then have that 5:30. Maybe just psychologically, actually, we're going to bring that game forward. Actually, yeah, just whack that in 3 o'clock. You've got even an extra half day of rest, all these kind of things. But it's only this season that, after years of Klopp specifically arguing the point that if you're away in Europe, you should not have to play the 12:30 Saturday slot. That's only just changed.
TV just controlled us.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's TV, and the Premier League is a better product than the French league. That's the reality of it. And they picked football fixtures long before the TV fixtures, I should say, long before the European fixtures come out. So it's a hard one when they've put their money in, they've advertised it, they've got the trucks there, and they've got all the equipment there as well. And
yes and no. I that used to be a reason, but Jez, as someone that goes more regularly, you'll also know that the fixture times are changing a lot. The games now, so there isn't a logistics thing of we have this truck going to Anfield in 6 weeks. No, it's just TV time. That Liverpool Chelsea game we're talking about, they're releasing the time and they're saying this may now move back to Saturday 12:30 if this happen. And it's just like.
Yeah, you're right. There are some, and actually, even within that, you know, and as you know, that I live with a United fan season ticket, and you know, we talk about that. The lack of 3 o'clock kickoffs on a Saturday, it just doesn't happen. It's either 12:30, 5:30, 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock on a Friday, 8 o'clock on a Saturday, 8 o'clock on a Monday. Yeah, it's ridiculous. You know, that's all. Maybe that's why they put ticket prices up to just rinse us even more.
Yeah.
So, Jez, do you agree with it though? Because Sandwich's point is that just because it happened in England doesn't make it right. They don't move the games. And actually, there was the Collectif Supporter Nantais, the Nantes supporters group, who said they released a statement. We learned with astonishment of the postponement of the match between Paris Saint-Germain and FC Nantes to a later date. Decided for the sole purposes of favouring PSG in its double confrontation in the Champions League. This is not an isolated case. So if you've got a situation where the opposition club are not happy with it, I'm just not sure how. Surely you'd have to agree on it for it to be moved. That's what doesn't sit right with me at all.
Yeah, and that's it. And it is both clubs agreeing on that, and if the other one doesn't, then they shouldn't do it. So it's a madness. It's madness, and it's two things. We had that, didn't we, when we were in the FIFA World Club Cup or whatever it was, and we had Villa, and they were like, "No, we're not moving that fixture." And we had to film like all the
2 days,
all the kids or whatever stuff. It's like we played two competitive games within like 48 hours or whatever. They just don't. They just don't do it, and I don't know if it's also the complex nature of in England. You've got the FA, and then you've got EFL doing the League Cup, and then you've got the FA. Then you've got the Premier League. They're a separate entity, and then you're battling with the UEFA. There's so many more parties involved, and everybody's just thinking about their own. I don't know what it's like in France, but in England, everyone's thinking about their own position. But for them, I think maybe in England, they just wasn't always going to get a minimum of 4, if not 5 teams every season, and they're actually bothered which of those teams it is. They just know they're always going to get that number. So long as they get that number, then everyone just has to suck it up. But it's no fun for everybody. But then I was thinking before going, they've got a week to think about it, and actually when we've had a week break, we didn't actually do that well. So actually, maybe it helps us to pay every 3 games because we can kind of park it, get over it, and we're on to the
So you are saying there's a big chance next week?
I'm just saying that for us, the way we are, I don't think it matters. It doesn't.
True. We'll stink the place out anyway. And I realised I confused things there because I was talking about Lens, but then I mentioned Nantes because they were the team that PSG had the game moved against.
Well, they moved it to the Friday,
in between their Chelsea.
Yeah. So they do, and it's frustrating for fans, I think, because the game isn't about fans; it's just about leagues and teams.
So the game is sometimes not about fans. Nice segue, Jez. You're a regular Anfield goer. Spirit of Shankly have announced protests that are going to take place apparently every single Premier League match for the remainder of the season. First one will be Saturday night against Fulham. Are you going to be there on the picket line?
Be there supporting the cause. It's just ridiculous how it's always. It's a hard one because I think you've got to. It's just not just about necessarily the ticket prices. It's just about how they're pulling money out of fans out of this. And yes, we accept it is a global sport, but actually what that can do is it can isolate your local fan base, which I think is crucial for every club. Yes, we are a global team with a global fan base. I'm not from Liverpool. We're not from Liverpool, and we support the club and we do all we can to support that. But I think you have to protect your local fan base. You have to accept, that people it's hard times. And it's been hard times for a long time. And even just generally, there's this whole thing about, if you don't go, you have to give your ticket back to the club. There was a period of time where you didn't get 100% back. You didn't get the credit back, or it was credited onto your next season ticket, like discount or whatever you look. And they didn't give you 100% back. It was like 75%. So like, why would I give you the ticket 75% back? I can give it to somebody else, give me face value. And then you've got the whole thing around, then they're emailing people going, you didn't turn up to the game, you got an empty seat. It's like, yeah, but people giving tickets back. And then there's other fans talking about people being in that seat who paid like corporate ticket prices. So it's actually, who are the fans that you want in the stadium? Is it those fans that are committed, who go every week, but also going every week, depending on where they're travelling to? It could be £100, £200. With travel, if you've got to stay in hotel accommodation because you're paying a 12:30 game away to Brighton, you've got to travel all that way, you've got all of that. Or is it what do you want? Do you want those fans who are going to pay your corporate hospitality prices and spend 300 quid in the shop because they're only going once a season and they're going to make the most of it? So it's like, what kind of fan do you want? The fans that are going to be sitting there regular, week in, week out, supporting the boys, going all over? Or is it just those fans who will pay the money because it is that kind of one-off experience? But ultimately that contributes to the atmosphere, or sometimes the lack of. And we've seen this at other clubs as well, when talking about these tourist fans. And I hate using that term because fans are fans, and being on the other side where it's kind of like, I only get a ticket once or twice a season, I'm going full in, I'm going all in. But for those regulars, they are the lifeline, they are the heartbeat of that support behind the club, and it's just a total disregard for those people.
I'm not sure what the club has said. I should be more prepared with this, but they might say this is in line with inflation. We haven't had ticket price increases in what, 6 years, 7 years? Don't know what it is, but it's been a long time, right? And last time they tried to do this, it didn't end very well. They had to do a turnaround, didn't they? But it feels to me like they're pretty much ready to firm it up and just take the heat, and they're going to go ahead of it. Do you think, Mr. Samuj, they're within their rights to do this after so many years of price freezes?
I think it's really tone deaf from the club, and I think I'd say I'm getting to semi-regular goer, like, trying, whenever I can, because I have that flexibility. But like Jez is saying, there's times where I can't because I can't get a train, and I'm like, am I really going to pay 150 quid for the hotel? Because Airbnb and the hotels, obviously, they also go up as well. So, all of these knock-on effects. So I do think that I think it's really tone deaf. The club announced this year record revenue, obviously, with winning the title, £700 million record revenue. We're shelling out £450 outlays. Even if a net spend of 250 million, we're giving new contracts of players on 300k plus a week, etc. I think it's really tone deaf for an extra 1.2 million pounds, and I think that's the thing where it's like the figure is so derisory. It's like, is it worth the fallout and the loss of goodwill for an extra 1.2 million pounds a year over the next 3 years? I just genuinely don't think that an organization the size of Liverpool should be squabbling over that, because there's that famous quote from, I think it's Rummenigge, or one of the Bayern directors, say the reason they don't hike up the prices in Germany is because, like, it doesn't make enough of a difference. They're like, yeah, we could increase our prices by 5% and make an extra 2.5 million. And he said 2.5 million to a club like Bayern Munich in a transfer negotiation is a 5-minute discussion. But to those fans,
it's an agent fee.
It's an agent. Exactly. It's the difference between an agent fee, and it's like, what's the means to the end here? Liverpool are not on the brink. Liverpool have always been, financially sustainable with having more concerts. We've got a brand new club shop on site. We've obviously expanded Anfield. There's more hospitality, exactly like Jez said. They've got different food outlays and all these kind of things. There are other ways in which you have that. Fans can then decide. And I think that's what the Spirit of Shankly protest is, not a pound in the ground, I think it's called, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they're like, actually, we're not going to, when you want an extra £1.75 for this match ticket, but I was going to buy an £8 burger, which I know is ridiculous, £8, but I'm going to buy it and I'm going to get my £7 pint. So I'm going to spend that 15 quid. But actually, I'm not going to do that now because you're trying to squeeze just that little bit more juice out of me as a fan. And I think that's where it's just really tone deaf. And we're in a cost of living crisis. We're literally seeing petrol going up literally every single day. Mortgages are up, all other fees are up. And yes, inflation affects everyone and it affects all areas. But this is an area where the club, they just don't need to do it. That's what my thing is. They don't need 1.75%. That's not going to make or break Liverpool's accounts over the next 3 years. It's just not. So I think it's not worth the bad will you're going to get from the fans by doing this. And this is what's going to happen. They're going to have protests. You're going to lose more money because even if 15,000 fans, just under a quarter of the stadium, don't buy their £6 pints on Fulham, they've lost more money just from that one game. So it's like, what's the point? What is the point? I don't know. I agree with you, Drew. I think they've put this and they said we're gonna say it's 3 years. We're gonna take the pelters. Very convenient timing. They're able to sneak it in 2 days after Salah's announcement. Then it's really quite like all of these things, and they're going to try and stick it out. But the noise is going to get loud, and if it's going to start affecting and seeping into the performances on the pitch in a very crucial part of the season, you might want to think about the difference between 5th and 6th. That's significantly more than that 1.2 million pounds you're trying to squeeze.
And I think a lot of it is also down to, I think people like feeling that there isn't that loyalty for the club hasn't shown loyalty to those fans that are loyal. Even just the nature of how you kind of sign up for some of the cup competitions and stuff like it. Season ticket holders, people say, no, I missed out on it for whatever reason or personal reasons. They've contacted the club and said, this happened, but I've had it for however many years, and they've just gone, nah, sorry, unlucky you, move on. And I kind of, But also, I kind of also appreciate the fact that there was, could be a global club, that we're so in demand. You know, the season ticket waiting list is ridiculous. You know, they've closed that for like however many seasons now because it's absolutely unmanageable and stuff like that. And they want to encourage people to use like the ticket resale facility for the club and all the rest of it. And I kind of get that there's that whole kind of balance between it. You know, they've changed the friends and family thing. This is how you distribute tickets amongst friends and family, other than it going through resale. There's so many things that they're trying to do. It's kind of like, but what's the benefit to the actual fans that are paying the money? And I was talking to an old lady who was in a cafe a couple of months ago, who had a season ticket, who got an email saying she couldn't make it. I think something happened. She was old. She was in her 70s, I think she was saying. She couldn't make it last minute. Didn't get in touch with the club, but then got an email a few days later going, oh, but no, she didn't turn up to the ground. You know, this whole thing about not having empty seats. It's kind of like, well, that's her ticket. You've got her money for the ticket. Does it matter? I mean, I know you want the atmosphere and all the rest of it, but it's like, well, who does the ticket then belong to? Is it the actual fan who spent the money? Or
they were going to open up these lines of communication in the first place?
Yeah.
Like, what's the deal?
What are you trying to
Thinking behind
achieve
the
through
decision,
that as well? And it's like the first time that happened to that individual, and then they're getting a telling off for not using something they paid for.
Well, I'll tell you, else would be getting a telling off Arne Slot if he doesn't improve these results. Fill him up on the weekend, 5:30 p.m. Thank you so much, guys. That was a very passionate, well-structured and compelling argument. I'd like to thank the Right Honourable Mr. Summage and Lady Jez for joining today. It's been another long one. It was a long evening, and it's a long way back for Liverpool if they're going to stay in the Champions League. They lost this first leg of their quarterfinal in the Champions League against PSG 2-0 at Parc De Princes. But there's still lots of football to be played, and we hope you'll join us after each and every single match we bring you. Instant reaction. Well, not always instant, but within 24 hours. And that is after each and every single game. And we appreciate your company. We appreciate your support. Please continue to support us by giving us a like, follow, subscribe on YouTube, on Instagram, and on TikTok at LFC Agenda Pod. And on the podcast, Engine of Your Choice, make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when we're live, and give us a 5-star rating. Because you know it makes sense. And because you know we love to see just right those fives. And you, Mr. Sandwich.
Oh.
Thank you very much. We shall catch you, hopefully, after we beat Fulham and maintain 5th place in the Premier League. That's our standards these days. Till next time, you never walk alone.